Welcome in to the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by RotoWire's free trial, rotowire.com/pod for the free look behind the paywall. Also, our friends at Edge Boost and PoolGenius. It is Friday, March 7th, 2025. Alex Barutha here with Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard!
Shannon, I don't know if he declared this on the podcast, but he is on the Kawhi Leonard sort of like Joel Embiid resting program for the rest of the season.
Injections. I think there's some injections and some joints.
There's some load management going on at the end of the season for Shannon. And honestly, it sounds like you're going to start load managing too.
That is code for me going on vacation. Yes, I promised the wife we'd get out of Vermont, go somewhere warm for a break.
Yeah.
So I'll be working, but I don't know if I'll have a video set up. Or maybe I'll just call from the beach.
It's snowing here. So
it's snowing here.
I feel that my girlfriend and I, we might go to Florida next month. We're probably going to Florida next month. So that will be, I get to skip some April basketball. She was like, you Florida next month? I was like, April? Sign me up. I don't want to watch any Jazz Raptors anymore. Please get me out of here. Okay. Well, Jalen Brunson unfortunately hurt his ankle last night during the overtime loss to the Lakers. Yeah, his ankle basically touched the floor. It was disgusting. They kept showing it. I was like, oh my God. Went straight to the locker room. He didn't shoot his free throws, but like Karl Anthony Towns essentially had to help him to the free throw line, and then he couldn't move after he made the shots.
Yeah.
Josh Hart said, quote, "We expect him to be out for a little bit." The last night's loss to the Lakers for the Knicks was the start of their 5-game West Coast road trip. Chris Haynes reports it's only a sprained ankle, which to me, the phrasing was like, "Don't worry, it's not broken."
Where I feel like half the NBA said, "F you, Chris Haynes, only a sprained ankle." You ever sprain your ankle, reporter boy?
Well, it was just like but that tells you how severe it was. Like, he's just reporting that it was a sprain, because
not like an exploded ligament or something. So that's
he didn't have to. Yeah, it wasn't. He didn't fracture anything, we think. So, I mean, what's a fallout of this, Ken? What do you think's gonna happen?
I know everyone's going to run the McBride. We made McBride our cover guy for today's video, but I actually think they're going to use this opportunity to let Mikal Bridges cook a little. He's had to take a step back on the shots he's usually getting in his prior stints, certainly with the Nets, but I think we're going to see a lot more Bridges shooting here. McBride's not a true point guard. I mean, Bridges is a shoot first point guard as well. Certainly the flyer and McBride makes sense, but I actually think Bridges owners should be the most happy, if you will, with this situation. But Alex, I'm babbling. What do you think about the injury?
I'm looking at our on-off court page right now.
Yes.
Bridges gets a 3% boost. Karl Anthony Towns, and that's in usage rate. I just said 3% as if that meant something. He just in general is 3%.
In size. He literally grows 3%. Yeah.
Karl Anthony Towns with Brunson off the court, 10% usage increase, brings his averages per 36 up to 32 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists. So more scoring, less passing.
First, Towns isn't exactly 100% healthy either. He's
not
dinged up, so hence my more Bridges slant. But you're right. The numbers say just more shots for Towns. But Towns already getting plenty of shots. Like, I don't know. We'll see. You're not excited about McBride either, then, it sounds like.
I'm excited enough, because I mean, if he's going to play 30 minutes a game, he'll be relevant in fantasy. I mean, when he's only played 30 minutes a game a handful of times, but here's what I'll say.
One start this year. I mean, I was going to mention his when McBride starts stats, and then I was like, you can't quote stats from one game.
Last year though. Here we go. Here's last year's. Last year when he started, he averaged 18 points, 4 assists, and about a steal and a half. So and 3.6 threes. So certainly someone worth picking up in, I would say, standard leagues. 10 teams, but standards, yeah.
Knicks with 3 games next week. We'll get into that more in the waiver wire section. Other point guard injury news. Tyrese Halliburton missed Thursday's loss to the Hawks Thursday night, due to a hip injury. It was only his second missed game of the season. That's nice. Luckily, Coach Carlisle says it's a game-to-game situation, so hopefully we're not looking. You hear hip and you think, grandmother falling downstairs, etc. Pacers are battling with the Bucks and Pistons for the 4th spot. I'd think they'd be motivated for that home court in the first round. But Alex, what's your level of concern with what you're hearing about Halliburton's hip and the Pacers in general?
Yeah, I think that there's nothing to suggest that we sort of should not believe what Rick Carlisle says, that it's game to game. You mentioned it though. I mean, the Pacers are pretty firmly, like, I think they're, I don't want to say like they're firmly in their fourth seed because Detroit's behind them by one game.
Yeah.
Indiana's 35 and 26, but then beyond Detroit, Miami's at 29 and 32. So the Pacers really can't fall.
They're also only a game behind your Bucks to get fourth.
Yeah. So the Pacers are almost locked between 4 and 6, barring any sort of crazy situation happening. So I don't think they'll rush Halliburton back because it seems like they're just going to they're not going to have to deal with the play-in in any situation. But of course, they'd like the 4 seed. But
yeah,
no reason to rush Halliburton back.
Well said. Well said. Other guard injury news. Pods. Brandon Podziemski left last night's Thursday's game versus the Nets after only 1 minute of play due to back soreness. Buddy Hield came in and quickly went 0 for 8. But Gary Payton posted a very useful 16 points and 9 boards. Alex, if Pods is out for a while, who do you like? Who's getting a boost on that Golden State Warriors depth chart, which seems to be perpetually in flux?
This, unfortunately, is one of those where I look at them like, could be anybody. Like, I hate to be the fantasy expert and be like, I don't know, man, could be anyone. But that's kind of where we're at with Steve Kerr.
Likes to mix the pot. He likes to something new every night.
He does.
Trace Jackson Davis, and then you just get benched for a month for
DMP. Yeah, I mean, I could see maybe a little bit more usage from Moody, a couple minutes here or there. Santos played more time. Quentin Post got 21 minutes. You mentioned Gary Payton had a nice night. We kind of know who he is in fantasy. Like, if he can get 25 minutes, he can get you some steals and some boards, but he also gets hurt like every year, like 3 times. So yeah, I don't know if there's like a obvious rush to the waiver wire. A guy.
I'll tell you what I'm hoping for. Northwestern basketball player recently converted from two-way to a regular contract, and lacrosse superstar Pat Spencer. Let's go with Spencer. Let the Wildcat go wild. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think he might go from 1 minute to 6 a game, but he did get 6 minutes in last night's game. Probably, it was close the whole day, but yeah. All right, that was too much yelling. Let's go to fan feedback. And our good friend, Mr. Fire Nuts, with the first question, Alex. You're going to be in the hot seat with no Shannon, so these are all on you, sir. Good morning to you, Mr. Fire Nuts. Has there been any word spoken about Sabonis? Oh, yeah. Valanciunas getting some nice minutes for the Kings. Any word about him playing next week? A lot of fantasy playoffs start next week. Alex, what are you hearing out of Sacramento?
We have no official updates from Sacramento. So on March 2nd, they said he'd be out at least a week. It's March 7th currently. So I assume that they're going to reevaluate him over the weekend. But hamstrings are tough. It's only a grade 1, so in theory he could come back soon. But I don't know. Again, we're talking about, at this point, it's about managing stuff in the standings, right? And Sacramento is 9th. They're a game up on Dallas, who's 10th. I think they're pretty much locked into the play-in, Sacramento, so they don't have to rush him back because they're way up on Phoenix, stuff like that.
Yeah. And Valanciunas playing pretty darn well.
They're 2-1 without Sabonis.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah, playing well in that Sabonis spot. Certainly a great waiver wire ad. I don't know if he's really available in any leagues, but all right, let's go to other questions. Someone wants to know, Jeff wants to know, would you drop Ty Jerome or Kris Dunn for McBride on a 12-team, 9-category Roto League?
I would not drop Jerome. Kris Dunn, maybe. That to me is a category play, right? Yeah. Is that how you feel about that, Ken?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you know what you're getting and what you're definitely not getting from Dunn. He's not going to have a 19.9 anytime soon. So you hit the nail on the head, as usual, as our NBA senior editor. Well done. All right. I like this question from Anthony. I really want to drop the dancing bear, Gershon Yabusele. Yeah. What's the question, though? I'm sorry. When Ware's back? Oh, of course. But is it the right move? Khalil Ware, of course, with Miami Heat.
Yeah, Ware right now is about to miss his 3rd straight game. Do you drop Yabusele when Ware is back? I don't know. That's close. I understand why you're feeling, why you really want to drop Yabusele because it feels like he should be playing better given all the injuries but now Drummond's back and so Yabusele's playing the 4, so he's not grabbing as many rebounds because Drummond's like, if you grab my rebounds, I will popcorn your car or whatever. I'd be okay with you dropping Yabusele once Ware comes back. I'd be okay with that if you want to. I think it's kind of a wash.
I think you hit the nail on the head with the Drummond return. Just kind of literally boxes Yabo out of the key. Another McBride question. Would you drop McBride or Cameron Payne and cut Grimes or Dunn? Quentin Grimes having a pretty nice run for Philly.
Yeah, I definitely would not drop Grimes. I think we're approaching a situation where Grimes might be like their primary offense along with Kelly Oubre for about a month. So I would not drop. Again, I'll say the same thing in terms of Dunn versus McBride. Although you're in a points league, so that the actual categories don't matter. But since Dunn became a starter again, he's averaging about a fantasy point per minute, 30 fantasy points per game. I could see McBride hovering around that. To me, it's close.
Yeah.
I don't think you're in the wrong there.
More upside with McBride.
That's true. Yeah, because I mean, maybe he will get his steals up in addition to his scoring and come close. The thing about Dunn, and I didn't mention this in any of the analysis. Norman Powell's been out, so eventually Norman Powell's coming back. Kawhi's missed a game here or there. That's helped Dunn be a little more relevant. I know Ben Simmons and Derek Jones have missed time, so like, there's probably more upside for McBride in theory.
That is a senior. Oops, I'm pointing the wrong way. That is a senior editor insight right there. Very good. All right, let's stay on the McBride theme. Would you drop D'Lo for McBride?
Oh.
I will say yes, because frankly, the Nets and resting and everyone's a little hurt. They're going to do that baloney for the rest of the season, and D'Lo's game count is going to drive you insane. But what say you?
As someone who is rostering D'Lo in our 16-team league and just every week being like, can I just drop this guy? He's like my Yabusele.
Is he going to play?
It's just like, I can't even start him because he's going to rest.
But his last 2 games have stunk. They finally brought him back.
Yeah.
He's been terrible.
I think I'm fine with that. I'm actually totally cool with dropping D'Lo for McBride because since February, he's played 9 games and is averaging 12 and 4. I mean, McBride's going to be better than that.
All right, let's get off McBride. This is actually, I've got this issue in a few leagues from Jay Sizzle.
Oh boy.
Is Fred VanVleet a drop in a 10-teamer? He's got Scoot Henderson available. Klay Thompson, Peyton Pritchard, Fast PP as possible replacements.
In a 10-team league?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it.
Dropping VanVleet for any of those guys?
Yeah. If we're just talking about dropping VanVleet, I mean, I don't want to, but if you're, in theory,
because you think lots of off days, you think they're going to be resting him to make sure he's okay for the playoff run?
Well, it's just like he came back and then immediately got hurt again, and we haven't heard anything. He's getting ruled out, I think, days in advance now. Yeah, so he aggravated his ankle in his return. And then he's been ruled out for the past, I think, 3 games, 24 hours in advance. So I'm not optimistic when it comes to VanVleet's return. Obviously, he's not having a great season anyway. Yeah. If your wire has Scoot, Klay, and Pritchard, yeah, I mean, you're in a position where there's going to be a streaming option who's just as good as VanVleet pretty much every single week.
And I'll tell you what, Peyton Pritchard, we know, the crazy 40 and 40 night with him and D White on Wednesday, which I was ecstatic about, of course. I was spilling bourbon everywhere. I was shouting gleefully so often. But Pritchard, he's going to have more nights like that when they just decide, oh, Jalen, take a night off. Oh, D White, take a night. Oh, Jason, take it. There's going to be like a ton of, here's a bunch of shots in minutes for Pritchard. It's going to be a roller coaster. He'll have some duds in there, but he's going to have some huge nights as well. Some nice words from Damien. Let's just take the nice words. Thank you guys for the show and information. Thank you, Damien, for the kind words. Let's end on this one. Alex, Barnes or DeRozan rest of season?
Yeah, I totally understand why this question's being asked, because the Raptors and Jazz are in a tank off tonight. I don't know if you've seen the Toronto Raptors injury report, but it does feature Ochai Agbaji, RJ Barrett, Grady Dick, Brandon Ingram, John Mobo, and Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah.
So I can understand why you're asking that question. I think if you view these guys close to equally, which I think you do based on the question, I might actually rather go DeRozan, because there's basically
Fox
a zero.
Anymore. Yeah, no Fox.
No Fox, and there's a 0% chance he sits out at the end of the season, where Barnes might. Now, Barnes is obviously just the better fantasy player, but if you're weighing these two things, I can understand the argument for DeRozan.
Kings, especially if the Sabonis injury lingers, they're going to wring out every drop of usage from DeRozan they possibly can.
Yeah, if you don't need the defensive stats that Scotty Barnes is giving you, then it's way closer. Like, the only reason, in my opinion, to be like, oh, Barnes is definitely the guy, is because he's giving you, steal, like
Stocks.
3 combined steals and blocks over the past 15 games or whatever. But if you don't need that, it's clearly DeRozan. Yeah.
Sidebar here, fellow RotoWire scribe Mike Barner had a great tweet where he was furious about the Raptors in a close game sitting all their starters for like the last, I forget, they still won the game, but they eked out, like they literally were tanking it. Barner's a great Twitter follow, by the way. And when does he host the pod? I should know this off the top. Is it Tuesdays? Tyrion?
It's in the middle of the week. It's one of the days that I'm not hosting it. Who cares? If it's not Monday or Friday, who cares, Ken?
Well said. Well said. All right. Well, and with that, I think it's time for me to tell us about our good friends at PoolGenius. Want to win more in your golf, March Madness, or football pools? PoolGenius gives you the data-driven picks and strategies to outsmart the competition. With over a decade of analytics and historical data, PoolGenius is the only site dedicated exclusively to helping people win sports pools. With PoolGenius, users winning 3 times more often than expected. RotoWire listeners and watchers, if you're on YouTube here, get exclusive offers. Visit PoolGenius.com/RotoWire for up to 55% off, or start a 4-day free trial. That's PoolGenius.com/RotoWire.
You know what time it is, Ken? It's time for the waiver wire.
Money time. That's what we get paid for.
Money. Yeah, that's where we make our money.
Oh, and the sales I do, but that thing too. But whatever. Yeah, this part.
Yeah. In terms of games next week, for the week of March 10th, the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets, your Brooklyn Nets, have 5 games this upcoming week, and then we have 9 teams with just 3 games.
We should track how many of Nets players actually play in all 5 of those. You could be getting some crazy resting. D'Lo ain't playing in all 5 of those.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that later.
Maybe Keon Johnson. I bet Keon. He's got my money for playing in all 5.
Well, you know what? I'm going to get this out of the way now then, because my long shot this week is any Brooklyn Net who's not a veteran. I have that. That's what I've written down. So
be healthy, young.
Any of the non-vets on the Brooklyn Nets.
So
Brooklyn,
Claxton's a vet by now, right? You got Claxton as a vet. Right?
Yeah, I feel like he might be at less risk of sitting, but he's not available on the waiver wire, so we'll see. But
Sharp's going to get 1 start during this, I believe.
I hope so. Brooklyn, like we mentioned, has 5 games this week, which means they have 2 back-to-backs and only 2 total days of rest in 7 days. We get potential rest for guys like D'Lo, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, etc. And honestly, depending on your league size, we mentioned Day'Ron Sharpe, Zaire Williams, Keon Johnson, Trendon Watford, Tyrese Martin, Jalen Wilson, like any of these names that have been hovering in the ether, in the fantasy basketball ether, are fine to pick up this week if you need straight up numbers.
If you need stocks, I'm a big Keon Johnson guy. He's going to help you steal some blocks.
He's a freak athlete. I think he had the highest vertical at the combine one year, like 45-inch vertical. He's an athlete. Who is your first official suggestion, Ken?
Official, yeah. I'm going. We already mentioned him. Andre Drummond, the big veteran center for your Philadelphia 76ers. He's on the cusp there. 50% rostered in Yahoo, but only 16% on ESPN leagues. That was interesting. Hey, Drummond is now healthy and has started the last 5 games for these woeful Sixers. Drummond, you think he's 58 years old. He's only 31 years old. I have T-shirts older than
crazy.
That. He's only 31. Yeah. And in those 5 starts, double-double, 11 points, 11.5 rebounds, 1.5 stocks. He's even hitting the occasional 3. He's hitting almost half a 3 a game, which is crazy, and shooting a nice 49% from the field. Look, the Sixers, they don't really have another center on this roster. You know Joel Embiid's out for the year, right? So Gershon Yabusele, the dancing bear who we love and hate, he's only 6'8". He's not a real center. And frankly, he's a soft perimeter player. You may have noticed is a little pudgy. Andre Drummond's going to get some crazy run. Yeah, they'll go small when they're facing guys that are jacking up a ton of threes. But look, it's disaster time in Philly. They're paying Drummond. They want to get some of their money back. They're going to give him plenty of run. And if you need big man stats, Drummond's your guy.
Can't believe he's only 31.
I know. I looked it up thinking, I wonder how old Drummond is. Probably about 34, right? Oh, I was like, 31. Oh, my goodness. That's okay. That's not bad.
I feel like Drummond, well, first of all, I mean, amazing career move to be like, you know who I'm going to be the backup of? Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
Like,
who he had a beef with. Remember when he was in Detroit and those guys were button heads?
I feel like they should let Drummond smoke cigarettes on the bench because he's just one of those guys. They just he's wearing like a huge T-shirt under his jersey, he's just hanging out.
Maybe a cooler from some beers.
Yeah, you know, like,
you're in Drummond chairs you put in your driveway when you're drinking beers.
He's like ashing in a Gatorade cup. He's like, I'm in, coach, and he just goes in and grabs he goes in and grabs a rebound every 40 seconds. He's like, yeah,
here, Oubre, put up another shitty shot. Here you go. Okay. Where's my lung dart?
He passes to Oubre, immediately gets into offensive rebounding position. Like that's
right.
Oh man, I love Andre Drummond so much. Okay, probably because he's never been on a team that I've rooted for.
Right.
Well, we have to ask. Yeah, shagging about Drummond.
You never caught a stray elbow from Andre Drummond. I mean, that doesn't feel so good. All right, you already give us your long shots. So you're kind of in and out of order. Bring up your first pick, though, a favorite waiver wire suggested for the pod.
Yeah, it's a lot of the same names this this time around, but Naji Marshall, 29% rostered. Mavs are on a 4-game week, so that's a positive there. I was looking at the available Mavericks players, and I'm like, there's definitely a case Marshall is the 4th best player available. Mm-hmm. And depending on how you feel about Klay Thompson and Spencer Dinwiddie, Naji Marshall might be the 2nd best player on this team, right? That's available for minutes. But he's been playing well quite far back, but past 4 games, averaging 13 points, 7 boards, 4.5 dimes, and 2 steals.
They room to improve. They need his grit since they have no big men at all. He can do some big guy stuff, even though he's a wing size.
Well, Kirian went to the game when they were in Milwaukee 2 nights ago, and his takeaway from being there in person was how empty the Mavericks bench was. It's like there's nobody over there. It's just like a bunch of empty seats and 5 dudes in a basketball game.
The Bucks sold those seats for the second half. They had some fans just gnawing on big logs of cheddar sitting there at the end of the Mavs bench. Yeah.
I will say about Marshall too. He's averaging 13 points a game, but he's only shooting 43% from the field and 11% from 3. So there's a little bit of room to improve. Not a lot, but certainly should be, I would say, more than 29% rostered.
I agree. All right, my second pick. How many times we mentioned this guy, but it's once again a great streaming option. I'm going to go actually 2 Indiana Pacers here. And we'll start with Andrew Nembhard, who's rostered on 26% of Yahoo leagues and only 12% of ESPN leagues. So we mentioned top of the show, Halliburton has an injured hip. We don't know much. We hope it's just game to day to day. Pacers have 4 games next week. And last night with Halliburton out, Nembhard had a typical no Halliburton game, 15 points, 10 assists in their loss to the Hawks. Nembhard has started the last 15 games for these Pacers. Over those 15 starts, almost 10 points, over 4.5 assists, 1.6 steals per game. That's what you really like. And great percentages, 48% from the field, 93% from the charity stripe. But hey, maybe Nembhard isn't available. I've got you covered. What about Aaron Nesmith, also of the Indiana Pacers, a one-time Celtic draft pick? He's only rostered on 94% of Yahoo teams and only 6% of ESPN. And like Nembhard, he started the last 10 games, and over the last 7, averaging a robust 17 points a game with 2.6 threes. Great percentages as well, 53% from the field, 93% from the charity stripe. And last season, Naismith had 1.6 stocks per game. So Nembhard and Nesmith are both excellent streaming options this week.
Yeah, I mean, most of our suggestions are weekly suggestions, but in the case of, a ton of people are playing in daily leagues. I mean, Yahoo's default is daily transactions. So when we don't know yet about Halliburton. So I think both of those guys are fine pickups. Guys worth streaming in until we get some more info about Halliburton. My second suggestion, again, a RotoWire favor. We talked about him earlier in the show. Kris Dunn of the LA Clippers, 22% rostered. He's still doing it. He has at least one steal in 13 straight games since he rejoined the starting lineup. He's averaging 2.8 steals per game to go along with 6.9 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 4.2 assists is not nothing, especially when you're playing alongside James Harden. Norman Powell's probably still out another week.
Where I was going, yeah, exactly. That's a lot of shots. A lot of shots available.
At least for a chunk of next week, he'll be out. Maybe he comes back on a Friday or something. But Clippers have 4 games next week. So you might be able to get 12 steals out of Kris Dunn this week if you pick him up.
Yeah. What's your feeling on Bogdanovich with the Clippers? Put up 23 points in his third start with the team. Again, with Powell, there's a lot of shots available. I'm not sure what his availability is, but
yeah, he I feel like he hasn't quite like shaken off the rust from that he just has had this season. I mean, he's been bad this season.
Yeah.
Like I thought he'd be playing a significant role for this Hawks team or the Hawks team that he was on, and now he's on the Clippers, and he's had some decent scoring performances, but if you're in like a 16, maybe 14 team where I would entertain it, but once Powell is back, I think Bogdanovich goes back to like complete irrelevancy.
Yeah, good point. Good point. All right, sir. Kris Dunn. Wish we had $1 for every time we suggested Kris Dunn, but all these names are repeats.
If I had $1 for every time I suggested Kris Dunn, I wouldn't have to sit here and keep suggesting Kris Dunn.
All right, my long shot, and we mentioned a ton, but I did move him down to long shot, is Miles McBride for the Knicks. First off, the Knicks only have 3 games next week. They're one of 9 teams that only have 3 games next week. So he's not going to get a ton of run just from sheer game count. This Brunson injury could be a multi-week issue, in which case McBride's a nice longer-term pickup. I hope we get some more news from the Knicks today. But, hey, McBride's not shy about shooting. You had those stats as a starter last year. Did you say it was 18 points?
Yeah, it was 18 a game.
Yeah, plus some nice assists. So, and we know Tibbs, when he decides to play somebody, he plays the heck out of him. So McBride, well worth a flyer. Maybe grab him now because not for this week, but for next week. And we'll see what that Brunson news is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they throw a campaign out there a little bit more. I don't think that's anything, to be honest. I mean, if you're in a 16-teamer, it's like, all right, whatever. Yeah. But they also picked up DeLon Wright, after the Bucks traded him. There's like a 4-team deal. He hasn't really played, but the Knicks defense has been struggling. So part of me wonders if they'll try like 12 minutes of DeLon Wright, but McBride's the obvious pickup. I'm kind of filibustering.
Well, and DeLon doesn't shoot, so when he is in there, it's not like Wright's a fantasy option, but he could be a block for McBride for sure. And I think you're right about that. Tibbs would love to see a little better perimeter defense from this Knicks squad, and Wright and Bridges have the length to do that.
They might be able to pivot. I mean, Mitchell Robinson's back. So they might be able to try to go full defense and then just feed the ball a cat in the post every possession and go old school.
Right. All right, well, I think that's it for our waiver suggestions. Alice, can you tell us about our good friends at Edge Boost?
I will. Ken, have you ever had your debit card declined or had to call your bank at 3 a.m. in Las Vegas, Nevada? Edge Boost is the first consumer-facing online...
In a leather thong and nipple tassels? Maybe. Go ahead, though.
I just want to make it clear that the folks at Edge Boost did not... That's not written in the copy that I'm reading off of right now.
I'm trying to spice it up a little.
That was ad-lib. That was improv. Edge Boost is the first consumer-facing online bank dedicated to the gaming industry. There are numerous benefits to using Edge Boost. $250K per day in debit deposits with unlimited withdrawals. Cashback on sports betting, DFS, and sweeps. Deposit $25. Get $25. 100% approval for all gaming activity. Financial segmentation for discretion and responsible gaming. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds nice. Compatible today for prediction markets, iCasino, DFS, sports betting, lottery, brick and mortar casinos, horse racing, and sweeps. No transaction reviews or account freezes. Visit edgeboost.bet today and use promo code ROTOPOD. Edgeboost.bet, promo code ROTOPOD.
That's edgeboost.bet, B-E-T, with the promo code ROTOPOD, ROTOPOD. We're skipping the DFS segment today. No Shannon.
Yeah, Shannon is the backbone of the DFS segment. So
yeah, his lower back issue is one of many reasons he's not with us today.
It's old man rant time, Ken.
Arg! Draymond Green has no idea how to apologize. He accused Karl Anthony Towns of ducking last night's game versus the Knicks because, quote, Jimmy came to town, alluding to the Cat Butler feud in Minnesota. Turns out Karl Anthony Towns missed the game to attend a funeral of a close family friend. Learning this, here was Draymond's apology. Note the air quotes for apology. That's, quote, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks, Green said. But my comments that I made were, quote, people, what I heard was this, quote, that's what I heard. So I do send my well wishes to him and his family. It's inevitable. We all experience death in one way or another, and we'll all experience it the same way one day. So it's unfortunate. You never wish that on anybody, but the Draymond Green show with Baron Davis must go on. It's not often you hear a podcast plug during an apology about someone's funeral.
I'm gonna try that if I'm ever, we're ever late delivering an article to somebody, one of our partners that we work, one of our great partners that we work with. We're all gonna die. So the article was a few hours late. The article never came, never showed up. We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die. Draymond, if you're gonna act like a reporter, then you have to follow basic reporter rules. One of those rules is to have a legitimate source. I get it. Our president makes stuff up all the time. So I guess my real complaint is, whatever happened to fact checking in this country? If you don't know what you're talking about, shut up. Also, go Canada. Arg.
Oh man, we're all gonna die, Ken.
We're all gonna die.
You really want to spend your time editing my article? You could be doing anything else with your life right now.
Yeah, Sharon, I didn't clean up the kitchen, but you know what? We're all gonna die.
Yeah, clean or dirty, I don't know. The kitchen still be there.
What the heck? Take a chance on McBride on the waiver wire. We're all gonna die.
Okay. Drop Giannis for him. I don't know. A calf? Who knows?
Which mispronounced names did I have? I must have had some.
I don't think so, because you're pretty locked in with McBride, Nembhard, Drummond. I mean, those are
confidently through Bogdanovich.
Yeah, we had no Mamukelishvilis or whoever else. I don't know who qualifies these days as
we stick to the Kris Dunns.
Yeah, Yes, we do. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Do not forget, before you die, to get a free RotoWire trial, rotowire.com/pod, free look behind our paywall. And I will, as all the time, as I do every time I mention this at the end of the show, we have amazing fantasy baseball content. I was behind a paywall, James Anderson, Clay Link, ton of great baseball writers with articles that will help you win your fantasy baseball draft. And don't forget the RotoWire picks and props app. So just go to your Android or Apple device or whatever your flip phone, Motorola Razr, and just type in RotoWire into the app store and it should pop up picks and props app.
You also get free use of the NBA and NHL DFS tool, right?
Probably. I don't know, Ken. I've had a RotoWire subscription for so long.
Me too.
It doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I'm
sure
so grandfathered in.
Yeah, pretty sure you do. Yeah.
Also, thank you to our sponsors, Edge Boost and PoolGenius. Thank you and apologies to our sponsors.
You know who you are.
All right, Ken, take us out of here with a quote.
Let's go to San Antonio. And ESPN.com, an excellent article about De'Aaron Fox's transition from the Kings to the Spurs. In that article, De'Aaron Fox explained why he left Sacramento, despite a very strong desire to play his whole career with one team. After the Kings fired Mike Brown, Fox said, quote, "I was like, yo, I've been here for going on my 8th year. If Mike gets fired, I'll be going on my 5th coach. And I told them, I'm not going to play for another coach. I'm going to play for another team," end quote. De'Aaron Fox, and obviously he went through with that. And I'm just going to say sidebar. Vivek Ranadive, he's a bad owner. The Kings have bad ownership. Anyway, that's my quote. That's not from De'Aaron Fox. But and put that in the mispronounced name. It is, how do you say the name of the
Vivek Ranadive?
You say Vivek. I thought it was Vivek.
It might be. I might be wrong.
Okay. All right. Oh, attention passengers. This 2-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line.